Good evening. I don't do this alone. Over there are my sisters, Sister Barbara Jean. Wave, sister. Sister Barbara Jean is a Youper. Does anybody know what a Youper is? Okay. She's from Upper Michigan. And Sister Pam? Sister Pam is a troll. She lives under the bridge in Michigan. So we're out, and I'm from Green Bay, so we're the Midwest. Thank you. Whenever I meet anybody from Chicago, I look right at them and shake their hands and say, "You don't look like a loser." So Sister Barbara pretends she doesn't know me then. Anyway, I want to tell you what a huge blessing the Friars are to the Gila River Indian community, to Ak-Chin, to Salt River, to San Lucie, to all the natives that we work with. I have a long history with Gila River. The San Barbara Franciscans were the first missionaries to come to Gila River. When the government gave permission for missionaries to come to Arizona, the southern part of the state went to the Franciscan Fathers, and up above went to the Presbyterians. So our reservation was catechized by the Presbyterians. And the Presbyterians gave our people their surnames. So we have Wellingtons, Whites. We have really, really cool last names, but they're all British. The Franciscans gave the people south of us on the Tohono O'odham reservation Hispanic names, Ortiz, and Molina, great names. So when the Franciscans came to Gila River, they started at Ak-Chin in 1910. And they gradually established other missions. St. Peter's was founded a couple years later, and in 1923, the fathers started the first school on the reservation, St. Peter's. So this is our centennial year. We're 100 years old. Okay. So during the 80s, the San Barbara Franciscans stressed God's word, meeting Jesus in God's word, and in the community. And they didn't have a big emphasis on the Eucharist. So because of that, we had one Sunday Mass at our mission every 8 weeks, because there were 8 churches on the reservation. There were 3 friars, and they all went to the same church with all the people. I asked them one Sunday, could we have Mass more often? Well, you have prayer service, you have Eucharistic services, and they never really answered my question. But then I figured out their theology. So we're some of the greasy wheels that were always asking, can we have more Masses? Can we have more Masses? We need Jesus. We sisters would go to Sun Lake St. Stephen's Church on Saturday night so we could pray with our people on Sunday. The Franciscans trained the people as prayer leaders. Franciscans left the year I was appointed principal in 1989. They left in June of '89, and we were without any priests. There was no priests lived in our reservation until Bishop Olmsted sent the friars. And they have been a huge blessing. When Father Anthony gives homilies, he starts out by saying, there are 4 things you have to remember. 4 things, and I'm going to quiz you, because 4 is a real important native number. 4 directions, 4 seasons, everything. So the friars have a game plan. I don't know if they know it, but we sisters discussed it, and this is basically it. Number 1, get to know the people give them visibility. Indian people are usually invisible. We notice that with our children. When they're invisible, they just are real low-keyed, and when you start giving them visibility, they become themselves. And that's God's gift. So they give them the gift of visibility. And once an Indian person knows that you see them for who they are, then you can pray with them. Then you can talk to them. Then you can invite them to church. Then you can play basketball with them, which the Friars do very well. The Friars take seriously the message that the Lord gave to St. Francis, rebuild my church. And they're doing it every step of the way because they got a lot of responsibility, a lot of churches on Gila River. Secondly, so Father Anthony would say, okay, by getting to know people, giving them visibility. 2, through their attentive listening and compassionate hearts. A lot of people don't listen to the poor. They pray for the poor, they give to the poor, but they don't really listen with their hearts. The Friars do. And the Friars draw people in that way. When our kids know that the Friars are on campus, boy, they're think of a dozen reasons to go outside the classroom, to just happen to run into them. Thirdly, the Friars are not afraid to confront evil. And they're having lived in Gila River a long time, the last 10 years, everything's become violent, drugs. I mean, during the COVID shutdown, our governor wrote an executive order saying that churches can only have 15 people in on Sunday, and he was going to send the tribal police around to arrest anyone who didn't obey that rule. So I sent an email to the governor. I said, rather than arrest people going to church, tell the officers to come to the mission and we'll show them where the drug dealers live. Needless to say, they didn't do that. But the Friars are not afraid to confront evil. The whole respect life and abortion, they preach on that. Some people hated it, but they thought about it. They thought about it, and the Friars live what they preach. They confront the evils of addiction and the causes of it, and the violence within the community. During COVID, we had about 70 funerals at our church. One week, we had 5 funerals. Only 9 of the funerals out of the 72 were from COVID. The rest were from gang violence, from suicide, and from cirrhosis and other addictive behaviors. And it just broke my heart. I think of that 72 people that we buried, 27 were my students. And the youngest student was 24. I could just see him sitting in his desk. So that the Friars are not afraid to confront those issues. The tribe is. Well, no, the big issue is COVID. It's not alcoholism or all the drugs coming in. So we have to be real careful with our kids. In the public schools, they sell drugs in the hallway. Not at St. Peter's. Not at St. Peter's. So one time I did a drug bust in my classroom. One of my boys, I really did it on the porch. When I line them up to use the restroom, I teach junior high boys. I have them have their pockets are empty, and then I have them show me their socks, what's inside their socks. So a young boy had a dime bag in their socks. So I put it in my pocket, and I texted the lady in the office to call the police. He lived in a house where everyone was high all the time. He told me that. So I was not surprised to see it, and I knew that family needed help. So he looked good in an orange suit. He was in spent the night at juvenile detention, appeared before the judge the next day, and I told him as he was leaving, I said, tell the judge the truth. So he did. His family was in court, and he said, the judge said, where'd you get the stuff? He said, I just picked it off my sister's dresser. Everybody in my house is high all the time. The judge said, really? Then you're not the only one who needs help. He says, no, sir. So all the family got help. He came back to school 2 days later. First time anyone thanked me for having them arrested. So the friars also made it known in several homilies that the 10 Commandments are not old school, that they still apply, they still exist, even if no one follows them. So the friars are doing a lot of re-education and re-catechizing. They're doing it for the first time in many cases, except for those people who came through St. John's or St. Peter's. So let me review those. There's 3 of them, okay? Where's Father Anthony? Father Anthony, first 3. Getting to know the people, giving them visibility. Attentive listening, compassionate love, confronting evil. And the last is probably the most important, prayer. The friars are constantly available, as you heard the young men, the seminarians say, constantly available for prayer. When these young men friars come to our mission every Wednesday is Friar Day, perfect attendance on Wednesday, I wonder why. And they openly pray with the kids, and the kids love it. And they do healings. And it's just after they play pickleball or basketball, then they pray. So, and at every church on the reservation, they have a healing mass, and people come for healing in all ways. Holy hours, Bible classes, and now, during COVID, Bishop Olmsted, at the beginning of COVID, because we were shut down as a school community, we did not have our children in front of us for 2.5 years. 2.5 years. And so they're back now, so they're on the fast learning track. But the friars came over for daily mass. And our first year of COVID, none of the sisters could go home because there was so much COVID at the mother house that the bishop asked the friars to do our retreat for us. So we didn't have to make private retreats. We had a real Franciscan retreat. And for that, we're very grateful. The friars are also unbelievably available when somebody needs the last sacraments. They go anywhere at any time, and they might not hear it from the people, but we do. We do all the time. How gratefully I said, tell the friars. That'll be good for them to hear how much you love and appreciate them. And then Father Anthony alluded to this, the Grief to Grace retreat was just so powerful and effective and really impacted our school community a lot. And for that, we are very grateful. So we went from one Mass every 8 weeks to daily Mass and a presence of the friars. I told the sisters that the friars are only a text away. And they let us know right away. So thank you, friars, for your presence among us, for being a blessing, for bringing Jesus to us, and for your constant support and encouragement.